Hello and welcome to the Gamer's Manifesto. With information about the new Kharadron overlords coming to light, I thought I'd have another go at doing a little damage and value analysis. I was initially pretty discouraged that Barak Thring lost coalition rules. My favourite KO list included a Runesmiter, Hearthguard and Gotrek, with the other half primarily being an Ironclad, a couple of heroes and Arkanaut company. Now that the tears have dried and the dust has started to settle, I realise we've still got some pretty interesting choices here, which is really highlighted when you start to look at the many leader options and the buffs they can provide. However, first, let's take a look at the regular units. Depending on interest, I'll do a similar video on Sky Vessels and then Heroes. The combat test I've used consists of one round of shooting, followed by a charge and a round of combat. A judgment is made on the likelihood of a mortal wound ability playing a significant role, and most are included. The value score considers average damage output and effective wounds. First up is Grundstok Thunderers. A quick look here, we have pure rifles, rifles with the 18-inch range special weapons, that's the cannon and mortar, and then a unit with all the special weapons at 18-inch range, and then at 12-inch range where all their weapons can fire. You can see there's never really a reason to leave your either cannon or Grundstok mortar at home. Surprisingly, the cannon and mortar are good enough that in a unit with all the specials, you still have higher damage than the pure rifles at 18 inches. Even if you subtract the melee phase from above. Though note, you will miss out on suppressing fire if you can't fire all your weapons. You probably want these guys in a ship, who will want to bring their 12-inch carbines and shrapnel shots to bear, so all specials are probably the way to go. At 2 wounds, a 3 up save, 8 bravery, you're surprisingly okay if these end up in combat. Of note, the mortar assumes 3 attacks in these calculations, that's the average of 1 and 5. The drill bill and choking fug are included in the melee phase, and value is based off all specials, and it's quite high at 9.1. It drops to 7.1 if the combat phase is excluded, which does make this our best pure shooting unit, as expected. Their battle line in Barak Nah, or with a command trait which also allows the general to issue them a free command. Next is Endrinriggers. For riggers, we have a comparison of what they do in just ranged combat, and combined range and then melee, which is the core test. A large reason for bringing these along is for their repair ability. On average, a unit of 3 will return 2 wounds to a sky vessel each turn. But these balloon boys can really slap, or more accurately, they buzz and they soar. In the rivets and saws configuration, they do twice as much damage in the melee phase as they do in shooting. This means that the damage of the saw versus a gun butt outclasses the special weapons entirely. So shooting only calculations have also been included for reference. All things considered, the drill and volley gun don't add enough in shooting to make up for the weakness in melee, so all rivets and saws is probably the way to go. Even if the meta were more monster heavy, the skyhook just isn't worth it. The grapnel is an interesting alternative to hopping onto a ship. This means that even without a run, you can move up to 27 inches if there's suitable terrain and distance from the enemy. This could possibly be to get close to a ship that needs repairs or to snag a distant objective. They're let down a little by effective wounds, but of course make up for that with their mobility. You may need these nearby, but not on board ships for objective control, though they will benefit a lot from the cover and -1 to be hit. Of particular note is that you have no coherency woes while you're on board, so units of 6 or 9 are viable to keep the drop counts low. When you look at the value score, I'd like to reiterate that it doesn't account for their repair ability, which returns 2 wounds per 3 per turn, at the end of any phase of your choosing. This doubles to 4 per 3 if you have an Endrinmaster with dirigible nearby. It's a tough ask to knock down an Ironclad or even the new frigate in a single phase. These guys can earn you a lot of value through healing them back up to top profile. Their battle line if you have an Endrinmaster anywhere in your list, which is an excellent quality of life change, as you probably want your general to be an admiral. At 7.9, they are the lowest combat value unit on the list, but that's not to say they're actually a poor unit. In my opinion, they're quite likely the most powerful. Skywardens. For Wardens, their range damage is pretty much the same as Riggers, so we've instead included calculations of what they would do with their mortal wound ability and without it. If you forgo the amazing repair ability and improved rend of the Endrinriggers, you're rewarded with a more dedicated, reliable and stabby combat unit. In a pure shooting scenario, the pistols are functionally the same as rivet guns, trading a rend for 3 to wound. They previously had 9-inch range, so the upgrade to 12-inch range is a big quality of life improvement for this unit. Equally as squishy as their grease monkey counterparts, it's a matter of contention how likely they are to survive the combat phase in order to use their timed charges. They're also stabby enough that they may just kill their target in combat. If you do get to use them though, an extra 1.66 mortals on average and a free 12-inch flying retreat is nothing to scoff at. I expect the FAQ to clarify that this cannot be used whilst embarked, but larger units are still viable as their 2-inch weapons alleviate any coherency issues. Both Balloon Boy versions are greatly improved by Brock, giving them +1 to attack, which is better than +1 hit from Barracks On, assuming they've both charged. But Barracks On does make Warden's battle line. They're slightly more expensive at 130 points, but they still come out ahead in value. I've chosen to include the timed charges in the value score, which puts them at a whopping 9.8. They're at 8.5 without it. Last and least are Arkanaut Company. I need to add a significant caveat to the damage values you're seeing here, as the pistols have 9-inch range. This means they can't shoot after a fly high and can rarely get into a position to shoot at anything significant whilst on foot. 10 wounds on a 4-up for 100 points is right on what you hope for. This is also inflating the value slightly, but you do need bodies to take objectives, and with an amendment you can make them count as 2. A bravery of 6, no Aether Gold and no Battleshock reroll or other benefits of being on objectives means that these are no longer the stalwart little suckers that you may be used to. They do, however, get +1 to hit if their target is contesting an objective, and this becomes pretty significant if you're in position to fire all your weapons and then charge into combat too. Even a Skyhook taking a pot shot at a monster becomes relevant when it's Rend 2 and 3 damage. And you're not replacing anything high value like a pike or a saw. They remain our only unconditional battle line, and it does feel like a bit of a tax if you're bringing more than 10 for just that purpose. I would reiterate that this is a game about objective control, and even with all of KO's alpha potential, you do need to pick up points during the game, as well as after you've mostly tabled your opponent. They don't really fit in comparison to the other units, but technically they remain our best value unit at 9.9, assuming you've equipped them with all the special weapons. So that's it for what I would consider our regular core units. With the value scores all coming in so close together, I feel like they've done a pretty good job at internal balance here, so credit where it's due to the rules writers. In closing, let's have a quick look at the new Vanguard box. It's a pretty good start to an army, and an okay way to pick up a frigate if you were avoiding it. 645 to 655 points depending how you build the balloons, and all units that you can safely include in every list. It pairs quite nicely with the old Start Collecting box if you can find one, giving you a couple options for 1000 point lists on a good path to 2k. Thanks for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments and keep an eye out for the next video. See ya.